Hello, welcome and kumusta. Thank you for joining me. My name is Hao. I am your occupational therapist, and you are listening to OT Conversations. In this episode, we will talk about the Modified Ashworth Scale. A lot of you guys who's working with stroke and neurology, and it seems like many years ago where spasticity was the main thing. Yeah, spasticity or tone being the main thing. And the Ashworth scale is a scale of spasticity. And what is spasticity? This is an increased tone that is exerted by muscles when you create a quick stretch onto the muscle. Okay, so tone, when you're talking about tone, it's the readiness of the muscle, a state of contraction that's not too spasticity. Tone is just a regular tone, so all of the muscles, they need to be at a certain tone. But sometimes when we have neurological problems, there could be an increased tone. Yeah, and it's called hypertonicity, hypertonic, and sometimes it is associated with spasticity is there, rigidity. These are some of the terminologies that you would use for increased tone on the muscles. Yeah, so just to review, so you have hypertonic, you have spasticity, you have rigidity. Yeah, these are some of the terminologies for hypertonicity. Now, Ashworth scale is one that is used particularly to describe the tone. Yeah, so the range is from 0 to 4. Okay, so 0 to 4. Okay, so if you think about it, of here where 0 will be no problem. Okay, no increased tone, but it's not to say that it is flaccid, isn't it? So 0 is just 0. There's just no increase in tone. Yeah. Now, moving on, number 1 would be there's a slight increase in tone and there's a catch and release at the end of the range of motion. Okay. So if you don't know what a catch means, when you work with patients, particularly with stroke, and this one particularly around the week 3 onwards, yeah, where tone or spasticity begins to come back. Yeah, so try stretching the arm into extension. So from a position where the starting position would be the arm, so you hold the elbow and you hold the wrist and you're facing the patient, and what you do is you stretch the arm to extension. And when you do this quick enough, yeah, and it has to be fast, reflexively, the body will protect itself and you will find a catch in the end. So that catch is the one that you'll be keeping an eye on with these Ashworth scale. So level 1, the catch is at the very end. So you can easily move the arm, but there is a catch at the end. Okay. Now, level 2 would be the person there is more marked increased tone through the range of motion, but the affected part can still be moved easily. So this one would be throughout the range. You can feel an increased tone, but it would be more throughout the range. Okay. And then, but you can still move the arm. Yeah. Level 3, there is now a considerable increased tone, and when you do this at the very beginning, the arm is usually in flexion, and when you do this, the arm is actually difficult to move throughout the range. Yeah, so that would be level 3. And then the last would be level 4, where this one would be the affected part is either rigid in flexion or extension. So this is a severe point where if you tug and pull, you can't even straighten the arm. Yeah. So when you have somebody with stroke, you can have 2 patterns on here. You can either have flexion pattern or extension pattern. So if you're testing for flexor tone, so what you need to do is you need to actually straighten the arm from an original bent position because what you're doing is you are actually stretching the biceps. So that's very prominent on that side. If you want to check the extensor tone, on the other hand, you start with the arm stretch and then you quickly bend the arm. Yeah, you quickly just bend the arm. Okay, so that is, again, just to remind you, from 0, nothing, 1, a slight catch at the beginning, 2, a little bit more difficult, but you can easily move the arm throughout the range, 3, marked increased, and 4 would be almost difficult. It's impossible to do it. Yeah, it's almost difficult to move the arm. Now, I said modified Ashworth. The modified Ashworth, they've only modified it in the sense that they have put a number between 1 and 2, which is 1 plus. And what is this? The 1 plus is that there is an increase in tone, there is a catch release, and there is a resistance through the rest of the range of motion. So it's around a half of the range, right? So number 1 is a catch at the very end, yeah, and then 1 plus is almost halfway, yeah, the catch is at halfway. 2 would be from the beginning, more than half, but you can still move the arm all in extension, you can still passively move it. And then 3 would be you can move it, but very difficult to do, and 4 is rigid. Okay, so there you go, guys. That is the scale for spasticity. If you want to communicate these things to clinicians between yourselves, that's how you would use the scale, because when you observe it, you can't just say there is a increased tone. Yes, you can easily communicate that with your team members, but if you want to do some intervention, how do you measure this tone? How do you quantify it? And it's very simple. There are stages that's been identified for a long time. It's been there in my practice because OTs are directly linking in or thinking about range. No, because OTs are directly doing purposeful activity and ADL retraining. It is very seldom that occupational therapists would be talking about the performance component, which is tone. Okay, so tone is a part of the neuromusculoskeletal part of the performance component. So you need to understand what it is. And if you want to assess it, then that's the way to do it. Yeah, use Ashworth scale, and you can actually use it as an outcome measure. So if you have some tone, if you do some treatment and management of tone, which would be, say, for example, weight bearing or sustained stretch, things like that, or slow, gentle rocking, for example, and if you use these things, then at the beginning, you can say the tone was at Ashworth scale of 2, and your objective is to control that tone. But if you try it like that, I wish you good luck, because it's always difficult to focus your intervention on restoring the performance components. Yeah. Okay, guys, I hope you learned a little something today. If you enjoyed this, share it with your friends, share it with colleagues, talk about it, yeah, and help me out. Just talk to people about it. And I'm not getting anything from this apart from the fact that I don't have to talk about it over and over again, so I can direct my students and other clinicians to these OT conversations, right? I hope you learned a little something. Just remember, guys, anything you do matters and has an outcome. Until next time, bye. If you enjoyed this podcast, talk to your friends and colleagues about it. Like it, subscribe, share, and do what you can to appease whatever algorithm that is at play. Just remember, guys, anything you do matters and has an outcome. Until next time, bye.